Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
Here we go, Barflies. Welcome to the Barfly Tailgate Show. You already know it's done by Barflies for Barflies and all the other Bears fans out there. Good morning, fellas. Another week, another possible Bears loss. We'll get into that. But first and foremost, we'll go across the pond to my man C-Dub, Christopher Watts. What's good, brother? How was your week, man?
You know me, mate, always ducking and diving, just try to get through that week until I chat to you boys on a Sunday afternoon. But yeah, everything's fine over here. Sad that it's like the last show of the regular season, man. It's just flown by this season so quick. But yeah, all good, mate, and looking forward to a show with you boys.
That's good to know, man. I love your ducking and diving every week. That's the classic Chris Watts. What's up, KB? What's going on, man? How was your week?
What's going on, fellas? The week's been decent, man. Decent work week, kind of after the holidays, after being sick and all that good stuff. You know how it is, getting to watch a Bears disappointment. Yeah, it's things I'm just accustomed to at this point. So, yeah, the week was decent.
Yeah. Well, we're going to the Bears game. It seems like nobody's really playing. It's almost seems like the tank is on. But in other news, I made this. If the Bears lose today and the Texans win, the Bears land that number 1 overall pick. So that's the thing to be watching for today. If you're scoreboard watching, make sure you keep an eye on that Texans score out there, and it's not like it's out of the realm of possibility. I mean, the Texans took the Cowboys down to the very end and the Chiefs. So 2 of the best teams in the NFL. They were able to.
I definitely got conspiracy theories brewing about what's going on here. Definitely got conspiracy theories, man.
Yeah,
tell us, kid.
Oh, we gonna get into it. We definitely gonna get into it. We gonna get into it. Believe that.
Well, I mean, it seems like the tank is on, man. I was listening to Aldo and Dan had a impromptu show last night, so I was taking a look at that before we got on air today, and it seems like Aldo's with us. He thinks this is a tank job, and it has been since the day Poles was hired. It seems. I don't know if I can disagree with it. You know what I mean? We haven't won since the Patriots game, which was an awesome game, but it's just what's best for the team moving forward, I think.
Right. I try to explain to people, man, when you come into a job that you take over and it's not what you have a vision for when you first take the job. It's up to you to tear things down to the studs so you can remake things in the image that you want them to. So when we started to see a lot of these moves start being made, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, these people he's bringing in are second and third tier players and whatnot." It's because this man came into this job with a plan, and I'm pretty sure this is the reason why he took the Bears job over the Vikings job. It
Yeah.
was, if I can come in and do what I want to do to build a team in the image that I want to build a team, then I'll take the job. And I'm pretty sure that was what was pitched to him. What's your plan? Oh, I'm gonna tear this thing down. I'm gonna strip it down, all bare, down to the cupboard. We're gonna find out if the quarterback is what we want. We're gonna find out if we can get picks for these big name players on the team, and we'll move accordingly.
Yeah.
That's when you see the Khalil Max go out the door, then Roquan Smith, then Robert Quinn. You see all these goals go out the door because this man literally was like, "No, I'm gonna break this thing apart, and then I'll build it back up." And I mean, people aren't okay with it because it comes with us losing. But I commend him for sticking to his guns. I'll say that.
Yeah. I have
You have an
to.
entire fan base pissed off at you.
Yeah. I have to applaud Ryan Poles for doing the job he's done, because this is something I felt like we needed back when we hired Tressman. I thought we needed a complete rebuild then, and they tried to hold on, and we saw how that went. Briggs was past his prime. Urlacher was. I don't like the way they went about it. I wasn't a big fan of Phil Emery. I didn't like his vision or his talent evaluation. I mean, when you were drafting guys like who was that wide receiver that never even played for us that they drafted? Gabriel Iglesias or whatever.
Yeah.
He's drafting guys that I didn't even know, trying to hit on them. I feel like he just went about it the wrong way. His first round pick was Shea McClellan, and remember all the reports coming out was that the Packers wanted him, so we drafted him to keep the Packers from getting him. It didn't go that well. KB has a pop out, and he'll pop back in when he gets back. Look like he might have been at work there, so we'll see. He'll be hopping in and hopping out. But Chris,
sorry, SC. I mean, do you really think though that they expected us to lose this many games there? In this season, I knew. Obviously, you're right what you're saying about them clearing the house out with the big contracts. But do you really think they thought, oh well, we're gonna intentionally lose 9 in a row, which is like a club record, or do you think they went a little bit too far on the tanking? I'm sure they thought they were going to get a better record than what we've got. Surely.
I don't know if they thought that when they first walked in, but I mean, when you go out to practice and you're seeing what we're seeing on the field, no pressure from our defensive line. Even when we had Robert Quinn, he had 1 sack. You know what I'm saying? Roquan Smith wants a big contract, but we're trying to rebuild. We can't spend all this money on a off-the-ball linebacker and try and fix the O-line and try and get weapons for Justin Fields. You know what I'm saying? So they must have seen it. Hey, we're getting a lot out of Sanborn. That he's an undrafted free agent. He's a really cheap option. We can let Roquan go, and we can get something for him in the process. And who knows? Roquan might even be a free agent again after this season, but that'll be. I mean, we'll see how all that goes.
That's Baltimore's problem. Right.
I don't know if they came in like first interview with the McCaskies and said, we're gonna lose a bunch of games. Hey, KB went and got him a jersey on. All right.
Hey,
I was like, you know what, man? Everybody got their bear shit on. I'm just out here with this black tee. I'm not really feeling it. So step away for a second and get your boy back right.
Yeah, so I don't know if they went into the McCaskies and said, this is our view of everything, but I definitely think by the time they got on the grass, as John Fox used to say, by the time they got on the grass and saw the talent pool or lack thereof that they have, they kind of made the decision that, like, yeah, we need to tear this thing down. We need to trade Roquan. We need to trade Robert. They traded Mac. I don't even think they saw Mac play, but they just saw his contract and was like, we can't afford to pay him all this if we're trying to rebuild. And thankfully, the Chargers took majority of his contract on. He hit us this year, but next year, we got the most cap space by far in the entire league.
Yeah.
So,
but sorry, AC, but don't you think though, because how they've sort of done it this year, don't you think that sort of slightly hindered Justin Fields, on his improvement and his progression as a quarterback? Because he's never had a good supporting cast all year, especially with injuries as well. So have they gone a little bit too far on the tanking? Has that been detrimental to Fields' progression as a QB?
I don't think so. I think when they came in, like a lot of people have said it all year, this wasn't the guy that they drafted. So honestly, they had to figure out if he was the guy going forward or if they were going to have to replace that position as well. You know what I'm saying? So when they see Justin being able to make plays with, let's be honest, even the Packers called them scrubs out there. If he's able to make plays with them, when you upgrade that talent around him, it's going to be even better for him. But they had to make sure that Fields was the guy too, and I think he's done enough to show him that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so yeah, my headphones definitely kicked out on me for a quick second, so I couldn't hear what y'all was talking about. I came in at the end of that.
We're all saying that KB's a twat.
I already knew it, man. Just talking bad about the boy, man. Talking bad about it. No, man. What I heard last, and then what I heard when I came back in, you hear about the Khalil Mack situation. It's pretty much they just came in and, like you said, AC, they looked at it. It was just a massive contract. You're dealing with a player who's starting to get up into his 30s at this point. And then he's coming off a season where he missed how much of the season? About 80% of the season that he missed last year. So you look at that contract with his age and then his injury history, and it becomes a concern of saying this player's not going to be along for the vision that we're building. So it was best to, at that point, we'll eat the contract this year, but next year, that's when we can make the moves that we want to make, so on and so forth. We all believe that now, especially now, because hindsight is 2020. Polls looked at this season as let's see what Justin Fields can do, and let's see if Justin Fields is really the guy, which is the part I was coming in at with you. I truly feel that that's what his idea was. Let's see if Justin Fields is really going to be the future moving forward. And his season to me speaks volume with not a number one receiver, with your best player on offense pretty much being hurt for a good portion of the season. I was listening to Shannon Sharp talk about this on the show with Skip Bayless. Justin Fields was 95% of this offense, right?
Oh yeah.
If Justin Fields wasn't on the field, then nothing goes. This offense is dead in the water. He did this with a wide receiver who hadn't played since week 5, week 6. Darnell Mooney had 490 some yards receiving, and he still, at this point in the season, the leading wide receiver in yards and catches on the team.
Wow. That's crazy.
That speaks volumes. Justin Fields did a lot of this without David Montgomery being on the field for most of the season. I won't say David Montgomery not being on the field. Khalil Herbert not being on the field for most of the season because it seemed like Khalil Herbert had more pop in his offense. It's more suited to his talents, but he can't pass block for shit. They did this with having to keep Cole Kmet in for most of the time. They weren't sending him out on routes in the beginning of the season because we needed him to block. Yeah. And then you see he started to catch on late. Fields has shown more than enough that he's the number one guy here. He's shown that he's the quarterback of the future. And it's the same model for every quarterback that's young, for the Jalen Hurts of the world, the Kyler Murrays of the world, the what's my man's name that plays in Buffalo? I've become a very big fan of his over the week. Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, yeah.
Josh Allen's of the world, Joe Burrows. Go get this man a number one, bona fide, not he might be able to be a no. Go get him a number one. Bring in that alpha dog, and then you're gonna watch this kid take off because once he has somebody he feels that he can go to on 35, and he knows he'll get it, you'll see this offense start moving. So. Yeah, I feel like that was Poles' idea this year. That was his thought process. Let's see if Justin Fields is the guy. He's the guy. So we can build around that now. Over 120 million in cap space. You're in play for the number one pick right now. And like I said, I have my conspiracy theories on this shit. He can make a world of a difference in one off season if he can get this shit right.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, not all the skill positions you touched on that spent time on IR. On top of that, the O-line in front of him, which wasn't good at the start. Now, you may have hit something on Braxton Jones. He struggled last week, but Aiden Hutchinson's made a lot of people struggle this year. I mean, he should be up for Defensive Rookie of the Year. You got a left guard who's been in and out, Cody Whitehair, and he's all right. He's all right. You got a center and Sam Mustipher, who wasn't even supposed to be the center. Lucas Patrick's been injured all year. A right guard in Tevin Jenkins, who's came into his own, but he's hurt as well. And then right tackle has been a revolving door of trying players out to see who can hit. I just what Ryan Poles' hands were tied on this as well. It may not have been his complete plan to tank and rebuild everything, get the number one overall pick, blah, blah, blah. But injuries definitely took its toll on this team as well. I mean, there's games, we talked about it all year. Look at the Washington game. Look at the first Minnesota game. Look at the there was like 4 or 5 games there where we lost by one possession. We went toe-to-toe with the Miami Dolphins, who they look like they're not going to make the playoffs now. They play the Jets, I think, today to see if they get into the playoffs or not. But at that time, they were on top of the world. They was the best offense in the league, and we went toe-to-toe with them, And, I mean, injuries happen, and in the long run, I think it's going to work out for Poles. We'll see how his player development's more on coaches, but how his scouting team does this offseason, because they're going to have all of these things at their disposal. And if we land that number one overall pick, I'm not as worried about the 33rd overall pick that we traded away for Chase Claypool, because I feel like you can there's multiple teams that have multiple picks in the first round. Maybe they'll slide you a second rounder, and maybe you can get a first next year. So then you'll have, true tools at your disposal that you can build this team with, and you don't have to worry about quarterback. I love Justin. I got his white jersey upstairs. The blue jersey's on its way. So I'm gonna have both my Justin Fields jerseys. Also, you guys know this, but our fans don't know this. Your boy ordered his Jack Sanborn jersey this week, so that's on its way as well.
Yeah. That's good, bro.
Your headphones are choppy as hell, KB. I don't know what the hell that was. You sound robotic.
Sounds like you're under the sea, mate.
I might have to bust out the whole face, man.
All right. I had heard that the Little Mermaid was going black, but KB, I didn't know you was playing her.
Regarding like the tanking and all that, I think when we beat the New England Patriots, I think that was still at a point in the season when I thought we still might have a bit of a chance this year. We still might, that, and then they got Claypool. So, but I think after that Dallas loss, and how bad it was and how lopsided it was. I think that's when I just thought this ain't going to happen at all this year. We're not able, we've got no chance getting to the playoffs. So we'll just slowly tank. I mean, do you think they've actually? I'm sure we've talked about this before, AC, but do you think they've actually sort of sat there and thought, well, if we, especially on offense, if the call plays like they've been doing, then we are going to tank? Or do you just think they just thought, well, we'll try as best we can with the talent we have and then just see what happens?
I'm sorry, one more time. Do I think that they were trying to tank by their play calling?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of do, because it seemed like they would get, they would move down the field, they would get close to the red zone, and then they would just turn around and hand the ball off 3 times and try to get a field goal.
Can y'all hear me, man? Do I sound better? What?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful.
All right, just make sure.
No longer under the sea.
Hey, man, don't be disrespecting your boy, man. Yeah, I look goddamn good with a fishtail on. God damn it. I be goddamn good, little mermaid, you sons of bitches.
Merman.
Goddamn merman. I be the sexiest merman you'd have never goddamn seen.
I just got a picture you with like a mermaid's bottom, but with boobs.
I'll be sitting on the perch like this.
Yeah.
Yes, your boy is under the sea. Oh man. But
Completely forgot what he was talking. Oh, so Chris asked me, and I'll ask you, KB. Do you think the play calling? You think they're in on it, on the tanking?
I think I remember speaking about this on the last show, where I said at a certain point, you really just can't be as bad as you're portraying.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell you come out and take a deep shot down the field and then make another shot. And then you say, yeah, let's run the ball 3 fucking times in the red zone. I told you at that point, you start to look at it and say, huh? Yeah, that polls called down there and said, hey, cut that shit out. So, yes, at the point I'm at, I absolutely believe that they're in on their play calling. I just refuse to believe Luke Getsy is that inept at play calling that you tell me that this man completes 2 passes, one that was a very deep shot down the field, and you sit there and say, yes, the best thing to do now is to run the ball 3 straight times. Nowhere in the history of offensive play calling has that shit made any kind of sense. So, Marshall, yes, I believe they're in on it. I absolutely believe they're in on it.
Yeah, it's hard to.
That makes me think. Then,
no, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, that makes me think. Then, sorry, mate. That makes me think that the coordinators are quite safe for their jobs then, because obviously, if they want tanking and they want to do it on purpose, then obviously that's detrimental to their future prospects as a coordinator. So that sort of shows me that I think KB's right, man. I think they're all in it. I think they've all been sat in a room smoking cigars or whatever, and they're all in it. And because if you were that inept, then obviously, I mean, at one point this year, people were on about Getz being a head coach.
Oh yeah.
Which were ridiculous, really. You know what I mean? Because he's already been a coordinator for 1 season. So yeah, it's just weird, isn't it, man? It's just when you get into the background and sort of what goes on behind the closed doors and what are they discussing, I think you're right, KB. I think it's a big conspiracy, and I'm not even into that shit.
Right. I imagine they sat around in a room just like on Friday, smoking a big joint, and opposed to sitting in the middle of choking on a puff. Hey, we finna take this shit, dog. If you're pulling up the drag of the split, you feel me? We not finna win this year. We're gonna
run the vacuum cleaner though.
Oh, it was the one running the vacuum cleaner was definitely Getsy. He had Getsy running the vacuum cleaner. Hey, keep this shit down. Make sure it don't get out. Hey, thank you. Now, I believe that's how that shit went. They all sat around. They passed the blunt around, and Poles was just like, "Yeah, bro, this ain't it. We gonna tear this shit apart, dog." But I totally agree, man. Like I said, you had at one point Getsy was supposed to be the big offensive head coach signing next year, and he was going to tear Justin Fields apart and all this other shit. And it's just funny that once that came out, that slope became very slippery, didn't it?
Yeah,
straight down.
Yeah,
I was like, God damn, that took a game. Then everybody changed it to him. Like, should we fire this motherfucker as an offensive coordinator? Like,
I mean, even the media went as far as asking Eberflus about it. So he was like, "Fire up that vacuum cleaner again."
Exactly, my man. Hey, man. Hey, get Getsy out the back. We need him in here with the vacuum. That's exactly how that shit went, bro. Can't nobody tell me any different. I have that image in my head, and it's stuck there for all eternity.
Well, I mean, after the Brian Flores report came out that, management in Miami asked him or told him basically, your job is safe, man. Just lose as many games as you can so we can get a better draft pick. Miami ain't the only place that's happening. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh no,
at
all.
It's definitely. I wonder. I kind of hope that they're not doing that with Lovey in Houston.
So I found this something I was listening to very, very interesting. There's a guy named Ryan Moody who I follow. He's a big Madden guy and always talks about how bad the game is. This kind of ties into him being friends with the offensive lineman that had just recently passed away. I guess he was real big in the Madden community as well. Seemed to be one of the best dudes in the world. So, shouts out to his family and everything for the loss that they suffered. He seemed to be a very good guy. He was speaking on the Ray Lewis story that the guy had, right? Like I said, guy played offensive line. He said one year was the Ravens having to play and win a game to get into the playoffs. And he said it was kind of like his welcome to the NFL moment because, Ray Lewis came in and blew him up. They spoke on how certain teams sometimes have that wink, wink, nod, nod with each other, right?
Wow.
You're losing, we're losing. Nobody cares to be here type shit. And at that point, they couldn't have that because the Ravens had to play for something,
Right.
You playing against one of the greatest to ever play in the linebacker position, the Ray Lewis. You know what I'm saying? And he was just like, yeah, the Ravens just weren't going for that shit. They were trying to win, blah, blah, blah. The story goes on, and he said Ray Lewis put him on his ass. It was one of the hardest hits he's ever experienced in his life. But it was the comment of pretty much saying like, we had certain NFL teams have that wink, wink, nod, nod with each other, Hey, you guys suck, we suck. Let's just try to get this shit over with.
Right.
That I took, and I'm just like, that's interesting. And it brings me to a little bit of my conspiracy. Okay.
Let's hear it, KB.
Let's hear it. The Indianapolis Colts. Hear me. The Indianapolis Colts have every reason to lose this game today. Y'all look at me funny because I've had my friends who I've explained this to look at me funny. Ryan, what you just said makes no fucking sense. It makes all the sense in the world. Why? The Colts and the Houston Texans play in the same division.
Mm-hmm.
The Colts and the Texans both have a fucking issue at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the Indianapolis Colts, who have Matt Ryan on their roster, who's seemingly not hurt, bitch him for Sam Ellinger?
Yeah.
If the Texans get the first pick, they probably more than likely draft the number one quarterback in this draft in Bryce Young. We can talk about the kid's size. You can talk about the kid's weight. What you can't talk about is what's between his eyes and how he sees the field and how he can throw a football. The kid's fucking great. He's amazing. No ifs, ands, buts about it. if I'm the Colts, I'm not giving them that opportunity, right? We'll field the team. I'll tell my players this: y'all go out, you can do what you need to do, but we're not going to win this game because we're not going to give Houston the number 1 pick to go draft Bryce Young because we don't want them to have the best quarterback.
Mm.
So you start Sam Ehlinger over Matt Ryan. Okay. Point number 1 that we could be possibly throwing this game because we're not doing what's in the best interest to win it. Second one, if the Bears get the first pick, the Bears aren't going to draft Bryce Young. And I guarantee you that they will be open for business with that first pick. Mm-hmm. We could jump Houston.
Yeah.
Get them in the top 5. Because what? The Colts are going to pick, what, 4th overall?
I think they're 4th right now.
We can drop back and offer them a first-round pick, multiple draft picks, and maybe even a player to get to the number 1 pick and still keep them in the top 5. And Houston doesn't get Bryce Young. Ryan, what you're saying is making fucking sense. I can't believe it. My mind's blown. It's fucking writing on the wall, dog. We're not going to beat the Vikings. The Vikings are still playing for something. Right. We're starting Nathan Peterman. If Peterman is coming out as prime Tom Brady and any wide receiver decides to be Randy Moss and catch 5 touchdowns today, we're not beating the Vikings. Not happening. 0% chance, bro. 0. We are, it is within our grasp right now. It's one of those things where you can almost feel the number 1 pick falling into our hands today. You know what I'm saying? I do not believe that the Indianapolis Colts are really going to be out there trying to win that game today.
And on top of all that, look who they got coaching. Jim Irsay called his boy Jeff Saturday, who's never coached at this level or college
at all.
Come be our head coach. So he's in on the tank, I would think, too. You make great points there.
I sat there and I told my friend, I said, dude, I need you to understand this. If I've thought about this, believe me when I say at least one motherfucker at the top of the Colts organization has thought about this. All we got to do is lose this game and they don't get the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
And then we could possibly have a shot at getting our franchise quarterback because we know the Bears would do business with us because we also have ties with them because of Matt Eberflus. We also have ties with them because we have people who were in their organization at the top of our organization. Yeah. So the conspiracy theories are flying here. The thoughts is this. I believe that at the end of the day, we will have the number 1 pick. I'm almost 90% sure. And it's all because I've sat there. I don't know. I really talked myself into this. Like, there's no way if I'm the Colts, I'm sitting there like, yeah, we're gonna be willing to let y'all get Bryce Young. Stop it. Because then we're possibly drafting maybe the 3rd best quarterback. I'm not gonna take shots at Will Levis because that's your guy. You know what I'm saying? He's Kentucky boy, so on and so forth. But if you're telling me right now that if I had to choose between Bryce Young and Will Levis, I'm pretty sure 95% of America is going to say we're picking Bryce Young.
I agree with that.
So I believe that the Colts would see that shit too. Because the Seahawks could say fucking to take CJ Stroud. We don't know at this point. We don't know what the Seahawks have planned. So he said, I talked to Colts fans and they want Stroud. The fans might want Stroud. That doesn't say what upper management might want, bro.
Yeah. I think the biggest question about Bryce Young is his size, though.
That's definitely going to be it.
5'11", 197. Right now, I mean, we'll see what comes out at the combine when they have their actual height, weight weigh-in, because sometimes you see guys lose an inch or two whenever they hit the combine.
Always do. But I'm and the funny thing, Bigfoot Loch Ness, man. I say this: Bears fans wanted Deshaun Watson. Upper management wanted Mitch Trubisky.
That's true.
Just keep that in mind.
But the Colts have a history of picking the right quarterback. I mean, they picked Peyton Manning, they picked Andrew Luck, and if it wasn't for Andrew Luck retiring, who knows where that organization would be right now. But yeah, right. I think they're in the situation where they're going to be ready to tear it all down. And Black Monday will be an eventful day, I think, in Indianapolis. And I'm trying to think of some other team. I mean, maybe Arizona. Maybe you'll see them start tearing it down. And who knows if they think Kyler Murray's the guy going forward. And they've got a top 5 draft pick as well. So
exactly. That's something I didn't think about. I believe they were in contract disputes with him right now because he wants to be paid. I'll say this: having the number 2 pick doesn't hurt, but it's not the number 1 pick.
Right.
I truly believe that if the Bears got the number 1 pick, there would be a lot of wheeling and dealing. If the Bears ended up with the number 1 pick, I would call my shot, and I would place money on it to say that the Bears trade before the offseason really even starts, kind of like how we seen with the Garoppolo trade and some of these other guys being moved. I would imagine we would move for a wide receiver.
I don't know if I completely agree with that, because I feel like you'd have all the leverage as the number 1 overall pick. So the longer you hold on to it, the more the hotter the bidding war for that pick would get. I know Don Burr came in here last week and was saying nobody's worth the number 1 pick, blah, blah, blah. Having that high pick doesn't matter, but it does matter, because if someone's looking to build their team, if they can get the number 1 overall pick, and just like you said, the Colts, who are in division with the Texans, if they feel like they can jump the Texans, I just feel like we might hold on to that for a little while and see who sell it to the highest bidder.
And I'll explain what I mean by that too, because I'm not saying we would trade the number 1 pick, you know what I'm saying, just to get a wide receiver. What I'm saying is this: we get the number 1 pick. Season ends, blase, we go on, so on and so forth. Let's say that within the up and coming month, we get a phone call from Arizona, or we call Arizona, or whatever it may be. I don't believe we'll get Devontae Adams. I'm not even going to go on that train and say that the Bears will try to trade for him. But you call Arizona and you say, hey, if we threw you guys a 4th round pick for DeAndre Hopkins, would y'all bite? He's an agent wide receiver. He has a big contract. A 4th round pick? We are trying to rebuild. Maybe they bite. Who knows? He went over to Arizona for a second. So you're not going to get the return on the investment. He's older. He's been injured.
Mm-hmm. He's out today.
Exactly. So if you were to sit there and say, yeah, we made this deal in the offseason because right now we know unequivocally we have the number 1 pick and we can hold on to that to trade back to gain assets. So we will be willing to part with a mid-round pick at that point to get a DeAndre Hopkins. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying at that point, we got the number 1 pick, so we're going to – no, hell no. No. I'm saying I believe they'll be more apt to saying we would trade a mid-round pick to try to get somebody. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? Maybe they call a Tampa Bay because we don't know what Tampa Bay is going to do. If Tom Brady's even going to be there next year, or if Tom Brady is actually going to retire. We don't know. So that leaves Mike Evans up in the air on whether or not he wants to return.
Right.
So you call these teams that have these bona fide alpha males at wide receiver, hey, dog, we'll give you this pick here. Because now we can trade back and we can build our team the way we want to build it. We can take that offensive lineman or defensive lineman and keep building that way. And we wouldn't have to necessarily worry about a wide receiver until later in the draft. And there would be a name that I believe is kind of slipping down boards who was looked at as a number 1 pick at one point.
Which is?
His situation is kind of bad, but Kayshon Boutte.
Dude, you just spoke to me. I saw Booty in Lexington last year when he got hurt, and he was tearing our ass up before he got hurt. And then he came back this year, and the whole different offense. They didn't use him. He was upset. Then they started putting him in a little bit, and then he was like, well, I'm coming back to LSU. And now he's saying, no, I'm going to the draft. So that might drop his draft status a little bit because people are saying, well, he's inconsistent with what he's saying and what he's doing. But if I can get him,
there's a reason. And it's because he was tearing up that ass. Yeah. So I don't know if anybody knows about the Kayshon Boutte incident or situation, but apparently him and the wide receiver coach and a couple other guys apparently bust down a female. And this came out, I guess, after he declared that he was going to come back, and that's the reason why he switched. So that's why I'm saying that draft stock is going to be sliding. It's going to be sliding. My man said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here before that this gets up to here and get on the team. So,
man, but, I mean, if he's got that going on, though,
yeah, that's why I was like,
yeah, I mean, I'm thinking if he's got that sort of thing going on in the background, and with the amount of cap space and like with the draft picks we've got, then I prefer not to start, to have a rebuild where you got character issues in the locker room. If we're going to start from the bottom this year coming, then I want people with high character. And obviously with the top players, what's the point of having that sort of hanging over the team and all that, really? Because we got options like you say, KB. I mean, if we did sign, say, Hopkins, would you just want him on like a one year deal, like a prove it deal still? Because obviously, like you say, he's up in age and he has had a few injuries. So, say if we did get like a named number one receiver, would you want him on like a short term contract just to see how they get on in first year?
So I'm starting to become enamored with the idea that we would somehow get DeAndre Hopkins. I've always been a fan of DeAndre Hopkins. That he's one of the top 5 best route runners in the league. He has arguably some of the best hands in the league, and he's produced with nothing at quarterback. Yeah. When you look at somebody and you say that the best talent he's ever had is probably Kyler Murray.
He had Deshaun Watson and
yes, right. He did. I forgot. But you're looking at somebody who can help develop a quarterback. He can be a safety net, like how they say some of these premier tight ends are, because DeAndre Hopkins is always going to somehow get open because the man is just that damn good. It doesn't matter how
that guy gets open in quadruple coverage. Yeah, he's
we've seen it. The motherfucker is catching balls over 3 motherfuckers in the end zone for touchdowns to win games.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And he's played with young quarterbacks who are learning the game, learning the system, learning the NFL, like Deshaun Watson and Kyler Murray. So I mean that would be I like D Hop a lot.
And also as well, sorry, KB, but also as well, if you notice this season, the teams which have surrounded their young quarterbacks with a big number one, their quarterbacks have improved dramatically. The guy from Philadelphia, look how good he's been this year. The quarterback for the Dolphins, they got Tyreek Hill. Look how good he's been this year. I know he's been injured a lot. If you just give Fields that number one, that play where the opposition go, oh shit, we've got to try and cover him for 60 minutes. That's obviously going to give Fields a lot of confidence, but also it's going to be productive as well.
Yeah. Not only that, it helps your depth chart because you move Chase Claypool down to a number 2. You can let Mooney work on the slot. Yeah.
I'm like I said, I'm 100%. Like I don't like to sit here and be like, yeah, this is what's gonna happen, and it's not happening, and then we just sitting here like, dog, we were so sure about this shit. To me, if I was to just look around the league, the player that makes the most sense to say that we went out and traded for if he was an older player would be DeAndre Hopkins because of all those things that we just did. Like I say, I just can't see people talking about the Devontae Adams thing. I've heard that he came out and was like he's willing to try to make this thing work in Vegas. So I'm like I say, I'm not even gonna get on that hype train. I'm a Devontae Adams fan too.
Well, we're gonna have a Las Vegas Raider on with us this offseason. Maybe we slide him a clip.
Like, hey man, why don't you just get traded to Vegas? I don't have to go to Vegas to watch the game.
Well, I was looking him up on Spot Track, and apparently he only signed a 1-year deal with Vegas, so he's a free agent again this offseason.
You might gonna have to kind of coerce him into coming home. I see him home, but
He'll probably call your other cousin and end up in Green Bay or something. You know?
Man, if he did that shit, I'd disown him. Oh my God. I sit there, motherfucker, you did what? Yeah, no, don't do that to me. My heart would break.
That's too much, man.
But it's sad because I know at some point we have to get into talking about this Vikings game. I'm really not interested in this game at all, bro.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you talked about the wink, wink, nod, nod. It seemed like that game in Detroit last week. Our players were not interested in being there. They were not interested in playing. They were just like, just run this clock out, man. And I know Don Burr's in the chat, and he's talking about Detroit versus everybody, of course. But
you know what, Don, go. I wish y'all all the success in the world today. Go out and beat Green Bay and find a way to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Go ahead, because I would rather see y'all and deal with your ass than deal with Green Bay Packers fans and Aaron Rodgers being in the playoffs again. So go out, whoop his ass. That's what I'm telling y'all to do. Good on y'all. Y'all got hot at the right time. Yeah, y'all. The Detroit Lions are a hard team to really dislike.
Yeah,
they have a very likable coach. He always is talking crazy about biting kneecaps and shit and crying in press conferences. But the man has heart. He has grit. Good for y'all, bro. Good for y'all. After this year, I can care less. We coming for that ass next year. But right now, go out and beat their ass. I would cheer for y'all.
I would.
Yeah,
I think
I like Dan Campbell a lot, and I watched the
Hard
Knocks from the off season, and I think that might be a spot where Will Levis ends up. I know Don Bird loves him some Jared Goff, but I just feel like Levis fits that grit personality that they're the culture that they're building in Detroit, and they're not scared of Kentucky guys. You got Josh Paschal out there, who played defensive end at Kentucky. Logan Stenberg is an offensive guard that I think he's a reserve on their team, but so they're not scared of getting Kentucky guys, and I think that's a good spot for him. I mean, if the perfect spot would be the New York Giants, but hell, they just made the playoffs, so I don't think he's dropping that far. But yeah, we're all Lions fans today. I think it's everybody. He says Detroit versus everybody. It's everybody versus Green Bay.
I would much rather see them win today than fucking Green Bay. Good God,
I would. I mean, for me, any team what's the opposition to the Green Bay is my favorite team that week. Any team what's going to be, any team where they're playing, and if they beat them, I'm really happy. But I mean, the downside is that obviously Green Bay have been on this, this resurrection of performances over the last sort of months. So they've sort of got they're on a bit of a roll, you know what I mean, which is scary, especially Rodgers. But yeah, man, I'd love Detroit to rise against the playoffs and then shut fucking Rodgers up for another 6 months. Let him go away and do some more South American acid and fuck him. So eloquently not put.
Yeah, you can tell Green Bay is kind of feeling themselves at this point. They're all over the TV talking about, we got hot. Well, we're not out of it yet. Rodgers said early in the season, I'm playing until we're mathematically eliminated. Well, he's drug it out as far as he can. Yeah.
And then I was gonna say, bro, I've been sat here and seen clips of Jair Alexander talking cash shit, bro. I'm just like,
I hate that motherfucker. I
was like, bro, you've been getting toasted all fucking year. You got lucky against concussed fucking Tua, and that's the only reason why y'all won that game. Like, gee, stop it. So yeah, bro.
Yeah, I know where he went to college, right?
Yeah, he went to Louisville, so I know you hate him.
Hell down.
I know you hate him. Oh my God. But bro, shit talking. I knew it was bad with my homeboy because my homeboy's a Packers fan.
Yeah.
And he was just like, it just, the stuff he's doing and saying just seems so kiddish. And he was like, but he's a kid. I get it. But God, it's annoying. He's like, just play football, man.
Did you hear what he said about Shannon? And I think it was the Shannon Sharp and whatever that show is.
Undisputed? No. What he said?
Well, he said, well, Shannon Sharp and I think it's Skip Bayless, right? This week. He said Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless need to watch how they talk about me when they say I'm a good corner. I'm a great corner. I'm a great corner. Like, remember what Walter Payton said? If you're good, you'll tell everybody. If you're great, they're gonna tell you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just really want them to lose.
Yeah. I mean that's yeah, I do. I mean that's a bit of my feeling about Skip Bayless, really. I think he thinks he's a legend, but proper legends are only legends when other people say you're a legend. You don't proclaim yourself as a legend, you know what I mean? Yes. And I think how Skip Bayless acted after that poor Buffalo player went down earlier this week, his tweets. Man. I know it's been mentioned before. I thought it was disgusting. And he's done something similar. I can remember when Dak Prescott lost his brother to a suicide. And Skip Bayless is a Cowboys fan, and he acted very similar to that. So for me, I like Shannon Sharp, but I can't stand Skip Bayless. I think he's an absolute terrible guy.
When I say this because when he put the tweet out, I believe what Skip was trying to say made sense, but it was just at the wrong time.
Oh yeah,
you don't tweet that right after the play just happened. This kid's battling for his life. But I sat there and I watched coverage on that play afterwards, and you seen a lot of other people had similar, you know what I'm saying, questions. How's this going to affect football going forward? This is one of the first times that the NFL in the modern times had to really deal with something like this. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows how we go forward. So is when he put the tweet out, I understood what you're saying. And I've said it myself in a few tweets. He didn't say anything necessarily wrong. It was just worded incorrectly, and it was put out at the wrong time. But but Skip can't get out of his own fucking way.
I mean, he did apologize.
He came out and apologized.
He came there.
And then you seen Shannon Sharp didn't go on the show that day.
He did apologize, but I think that will look down to his bosses going, you know, you really need to apologize because, you know, this tweet, what he sent out makes you look so bad. For Shannon Sharp, you know, not to turn up to do a show with a guy, I mean, that speaks volumes to me, especially because he's an ex-player as well. You know, I mean, we had a similar situation over here in the UK. An English Premiership football player, he just collapsed on the pitch exactly the same way. His heart stopped for nearly 30 minutes. And luckily he made a full recovery. I mean, I don't know if he ever played again, but obviously the main thing is that he's alive and healthy. So it has happened a few times, you know, over here. We've had it in rugby and we've had it in the European finals this year. A Denmark player went down exactly like that. And it sort of galvanised their team. They did quite well. But I just thought we were a bit insensitive, really, because, you know, it was such a shocking thing what happened. And, you know, I think it's just a matter of timing, isn't it, really? Just give things to settle down a bit before you start tweeting stuff like that out, really.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, I mean, while we're on the subject, we should definitely give a shout out to Hamlin, Bills Mafia, everybody that watched that. You know, they were in Cincinnati. I knew a lot of people that were at the game, and they were just, you know, as a like, I didn't think about it while I was playing, but as a father of a son who plays, I'm trying not to cry here, but that was tough to watch. Apparently it happens a lot more often in baseball and hockey because, you know, they don't have as much protection and stuff. But definitely shout out to all of them. And I had my faith in humanity restored when I saw his GoFundMe jump to
over $1 million.
7 million. Like he
it was and you hear certain people, you know what I'm saying, when you hear old heads talk like, bro, this game, you can die playing this game. You just kind of look at them, you brush it off. Shut up, dog. That's not gonna happen.
Right.
And to see it happen, I had you know what I'm saying, a couple of my buddies that I work with, one of the old lieutenants who had retired just recently had tweeted out a picture saying, you know what I'm saying, it's crazy that, you know what I'm saying, at that point, probably the most underpaid person on the field at that point was the workers on the ambulance, and they meant the most in that day.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying, as a first responder, we go into so many things. You at that point, you don't know what you're gonna go into, or if you can even get somebody to revive. So, shouts out to the personnel on the field that gave CPR for the 9 minutes until they showed up.
Absolutely,
because that 9 minutes saved that man's life. Having people react right away, and then you see how all the players reacted. It takes a toll on people, and you see certain people, oh, it's all fake, and they're only doing this and saying this. They didn't even know this guy over a week ago. It doesn't matter, dog. Right. When you see somebody go down like that, you can see it, especially if you have kids, and if your kids play football, or you have family that's in the league, or anything. Right. That could be anybody. That I'll guarantee you, that kid, he was totally fucking healthy going into that game, or so he thought. And to have something like that just happen out of the blue, he could have been there on the field, and that could have been that kid's last day. It doesn't matter if you didn't know him. He can be the fucking long snapper. Right. It doesn't matter if he's up here in the league and everybody knows him, or if he's down here and nobody knows him. The shit happened. Yeah. He has a family, and the human element cannot be taken out of that. So I don't sit there. I'm not going to judge anybody that had any kind of emotional feelings towards it, because you said, AC, you said you had to stop yourself because you felt like you were going to cry. That's understandable. You have a son that plays the game. Yeah, and I wouldn't even know what to do. I'm sitting there. I have the skills. You know what I'm saying? To be to be a first responder, something that happened in that instance. But what do you do? Right. How do you react? You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? Shouts out to everybody that acted quickly, man. Shouts to everybody that this affected, because I know it affected the world, man. It was nice for once to see people pull together instead of try to fight each other about the situation, man. So,
I mean, you're right, Kirby. Go ahead. Sorry, Kirby. You're right, because they were actually on. It was actually. Sorry, mate. But you're right, because it was actually on the national news over here about what happened. And we have NFL on the TV, but it's a minority sport, and this were on the 6 o'clock BBC 6 o'clock news. What covers it wasn't everybody knows. It just makes you sort of realize that these guys are human beings, they're not robots. You're not playing Madden. These guys, like you say, so these guys got families, loved ones, friends. It'd be and I started thinking about God, about my friends and family, and even you guys. If anything would happen, it'd be devastating. In a similar situation. So I think it's terrible what's happened, but I think it has brought out, the best side of humanity, throughout the NFL. I think the NFL has dealt with it really well, and and I think when I watched the Raiders game last night, and there were loads of people in the crowd wearing number 3 t-shirt. It's just a shame where you have to have a tragedy to actually show humanity, the best of humanity sometimes.
Yeah, you talk about the jersey. The Hamlin jersey was the most sought after jersey on Fanatics this last week. His jersey sales skyrocketed, and we'll be seeing those jerseys throughout all NFL stadiums this week, I think. Eric Kush brings up a good point. Wasn't there a coach that had a heart attack on the sideline a few years ago? I think that was
it Denver or Houston?
Well, he used to coach at both of those places.
Okay. Yeah, Denver's. Yeah.
What was his name?
He won the Super Bowl with Denver. He would have not went to coordinator for a long time. What a.
It might have been.
Start with K surname, not Cadillac.
I thought it was Kubiak.
Kubiak, that's the name.
That's it. That's the one.
Yeah,
that's
Gary
the one.
Kubiak.
KB.
Yeah, I was gonna say
a heart attack on the field, and they were saying that the field, if you're not at the hospital, it's one of the. I mean, you hate to say it this way, but it's one of the best places for something like that to happen, because there are so many first responders.
Oh, yeah.
There is an ambulance on the field. Both teams have doctors and everything like that. But that was a tough situation to watch Monday. And I'm so happy to hear that his breathing tube was removed. He was able to FaceTime his team yesterday, so he's making great progress. I don't know if he'll ever play again, but that's neither here nor there at this point. You know, this is about something. It's like everyone said, it's bigger than football at this point, and we're just happy to hear that guy is making a recovery. You know, I'm sure he has something to fall back on. He's probably got a college degree. I know he played at Pittsburgh. They were talking today. I was watching NFL Network before I came down because, you know, where this plays out is playoffs. The Bills and Chiefs, if they're playing in it, they want to do a neutral site game because, you know, technically it affected
Buffalo
the standings.
I was going to say Buffalo was fighting for the number 1 seed. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
but they said that it's possible they could be playing at in Pittsburgh at used to be called Heinz Field. I don't remember what they changed the name to, but that's a big thing because Hamlin played college at Pittsburgh and they played on Heinz Field, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd actually be dope if they went to Pittsburgh and played there. You know what I'm saying? Just played at the college field.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? just to honor the kid. But like I say, man, it was bigger than football. You know what I'm saying? And you see that he woke up and the first thing out of his mouth apparently was, did we win the game?
Yeah.
It's like, I joked that when I heard it, I was like, I bet the fucking doctor was like, seriously? Like, bro, really? Like, no, man, you won a game of life, motherfucker. You're alive. That's all that matters. So just hearing that, you know what I'm saying, it kind of it made me smile. It made me laugh because you hear that the kid's in a better place now. But it's like that age old adage, like from movies, like the hero comes back and you thought the hero was dead or something happened. It's like, oh, is it over? Did we win? And it's like, yes, motherfucker, we won. You did everything for us. We appreciate you. So I was like, I know that part made me smile, man. I had you know what I'm saying, and I got to see how Rex Ryan handled it today because that clip was making the rounds where he was in tears talking about it and saying, you know what I'm saying, I needed that as a coach, as a, you know what I'm saying, as a family man who has kids that play the game and everything like that. So I was like, I see how it affects everybody, and at the point we're all just happy that he's here and he's able to do that. So shouts out to Hamlin, man, and his family, because like I said, that can be anybody. That can be anybody.
Yep.
Well, it's kind of hard for me to build a segue off of that, but we got a friend of the bar room making his return, comes through every week and tries to win you some money. My man Johnny Santucci, the Tooch. What's good, brother?
I'm a little bit sick, but you're supposed to say, speaking of happy to see. Right?
You know what? I was happy to see you, man. I mean, I was listening to Dan and Aldo this morning. I was watching it back, and they talked about you being sick, man. So we definitely.
Yeah, I don't know what's. Yeah, I was having a meeting about the future of the Dan and Aldo show, and I'm in there and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, bro. Cough medicine. Just I feel a little bit better today, but I'm still, gonna just take it easy today.
Yeah.
But I couldn't miss what might be the last Bears game of the season, last Bears tailgate of the season with you guys.
Yeah.
And if I was to give out a free play, man, I like the Saints today. They've been playing really good. They're at home against laying only 3 points against the Panthers. Defense on the Saints is back to holding teams to around 15 points a game. And the run defense looks like it's back for the Saints. I mean, they went in and they beat the Browns and the Eagles the past couple of weeks. So
that's a tough one for me though, because the Saints are doing really well, but the Panthers are. It's more about the Panthers to me. It's
they're doing good too.
But team to figure out, man. Like some weeks they look great, some weeks they just
last week they didn't look good because I was on the other side of that. But yeah, Dante Foreman has been running. He's injured, so I like the Saints to get it done today with Mr. Dalton. But look where we are today with the Bears. I mean, we are. We talked about how whether or not we should sit Justin Fields, and I don't know. Is he injured, KB?
Fields made that appearance. That motherfucker said he wants to play without saying it out loud.
I thought they might try to get him the record at least, most rushing yards by a quarterback. Imagine if you're, going to the game today and you were expecting to see Justin Fields and instead you're going to get Nathan Peterman. So.
Hey, don't you talk bad about our Lord and Savior Nathan Peterman, okay? He's coming out. He's throwing 5 touchdowns to Randy Moss.
Hey, I'll be honest, man, and Dan and Aldo are going to this game, so
they are. Yeah,
sit out in the cold and watch Nathan Peterman, and a team that looked checked out last week. They're going to be more checked out this week, I think. But we just got to keep thinking about that number 1 overall pick. And honestly, I like being able to see Nathan Peterman because, and Aldo's talked about this before. And I think we've talked about it as well. Behind, like, if you look at Baltimore, the way they've built their team, they got Lamar Jackson as a starter. Behind him, you got Huntley, who's like a Lamar Jackson light. And then even behind him, they grabbed a guy out of college to put on the practice squad that's another version of plays kind of the same way as well. Whereas we have Justin Fields, who can run really well and has a cannon for an arm. And then behind him, you've got Nathan Peterman. And before that, Trevor Siemian, who –
not the same mold of guys.
Right.
There's another dude too, like Tim Doyle or something, who I never heard of. I think he's
Tim Broyle. He was practice squad player from Detroit, I believe, and I think he spent time in Green Bay as well. So he kind of knows the offense. I think that's why they've got him.
Sure.
But it's, this game's going to be. We haven't even talked about the game last week, and I don't know if we're going to even talk about the game this week. To be honest,
it doesn't matter at this point. We know what the game was. Literally at halftime, everybody was looking around like, "All right, what are we playing for real?" Like, this isn't the same team that took them to the wire last time. It just felt different. After the first quarter, it felt different. Hell, after the first. It felt different.
Sorry, Kirby.
Oh no, you're good, bro.
It just felt so flat. They come out so flat. Yeah. I think apart from the Washington game, I think that was the most depressing Bears performance I've seen in years. There was just no heart. There was no drive. There was no fire. The play calling were terrible, and it was just sort of like, can we just finish this game and get him off the pitch and kick on for next year? Because that way, it was just soul destroying to watch, I thought. I think it was just a combination of all the losses, all the injuries, all just combined. And I think the players are probably who are left, are probably just mentally checking out because, to lose like you have been losing every week, it must affect your mental status so much. And you must feel embarrassed because you're losing. And, there's always talk of time. It just felt like, the whole equation of all that came together, and that was what happened with the performance last week. But man, I was pissed off last week after that game. I was pissed.
Yeah, I remember. I was checked out by halftime. I was like, I'm turning this shit off, bro.
I will.
There's not a point. You didn't feel any heart from anybody. And I remember saying, because I've seen people like, we watch people are going to make excuses for Justin Fields today. Justin Fields played like shit. Now, I'll admit that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't his best game. And
I think he did that.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's okay to say the man didn't play good. The team didn't play good.
Right.
And it just was uninspired football. So, you think about it in terms of what the regular season would have been. That would have been the last game of the year for us before they added the extra game. And best believe the players on this team know that shit, bro.
Yeah.
So
we had the discussion, about, and people were mixed about whether or not it was worth the risk of playing Justin Fields because, you saw Kyler Murray go down, a non-contact, tears his ACL, and he won't be back until October, November of next year. So would we take the same risk with Justin Fields, whether or not that was worth it? And it appears that Bears management has made a decision that it isn't worth it, So, but, we get to take a look at some other players today. There's some ex-Bears on the Vikings, like Duke Shelley and Chris Tonga. and maybe we'll get a look at Dieter Eisland, Jatire Carter, DeMarcus Gates, maybe a pass rusher, Jalen Holmes and Terrell Lewis. Some of these guys, maybe
Terrell Lewis is interesting.
One reason to watch the game. We got a couple defensive backs who will be suiting up today. And, Stroman Jr., I think, was on the Commanders, and Adrian Colbert is the other guy.
I was going to say also that kid they picked up from Denver. Right. I guess a lot of people, one of the guys from the bar room, Jordan, he was real high on that kid. So he'd be interesting to watch too, I guess.
Yeah, and you have to think about some of the Bears who probably will be playing their last games, like Mustafa and hopefully Mustafa and Cody Whitehair.
They might keep Mustafa for days.
Yeah, I know. And I promised myself I wouldn't mention the Kentucky-Alabama game today, basketball.
Buddy.
So just what's going on with Shibaway and guys?
I don't know how to play basketball anymore. I don't know what. Yeah, we could talk about it, man. It's and people here, John Calipari has a lifetime contract.
Yep.
So he's gonna coach until he don't want to coach no damn more. And all of us, he hasn't won a title in a decade, and he still plays like it's 2012. So that's the biggest problem. You got a guy that runs up the court and just dribble, try to throw it into Oscar and hope he can do something. That shit ain't gonna work no more, man. First of all, you ain't got AD down there. Seaway's great. I mean, he won a National Player of the Year last year, but that play doesn't work anymore. I wish they play like we just saw how Alabama plays, or how when we lost to Missouri, the way they play. We have the horses to play like that, but Calipari just will not do it, and he's gotten rid of everybody who would question him. He's such a yes man at this point. I mean,
the Hawkeyes got their own problems too with McCaffrey and his son. His son, the star, leaving the team because he's got anxiety issues, probably caused by his dad, who's a maniac, but can throw up 100 points on you. Don't play a lot of defense, but the college basketball season for me, guys, has been, it's been tough. The numbers are so sharp, and you pick the right team winning the last couple seconds, a missed free throw here and there, and you're not covering the spread. Right. But it'll turn around. I wanted to talk a little bit with you guys about the Claypool trade. Who is if the Bears, whether they finish with the first or second round pick, Claypool cost the 33rd or 34th overall pick, and I got roasted for saying I didn't think it was worth that high of a pick because
it's actually the 32nd or 33rd pick because Miami doesn't have a pick in the first round
because of punishment. Yeah, right. Because they're probably forgot 32nd or 33rd pick. So, and you have to weigh that against the fact that there really aren't a lot of good free agent agent receivers next year. There's nothing really there, man, for next year. So, Poles had to make a move. I don't know. He also probably factored in the fact that he didn't want Green Bay to get a hold of Claypool and face Claypool, twice a year. But to me, that wasn't a big enough reason to trade picks because, like every offseason, the Bears have a million holes to fill, KB, Chris. I mean, there's a million holes to fill. The defensive line, offensive line, back, defensive secondary, linebackers. We need wide receivers. Probably need another extra tight end. Yeah, the whole front seven. There's just so much, So if the Bears were to have that first pick overall, they could really control the draft. And I guarantee you, if you think that didn't cross Ryan Poles' mind, having the number one overall pick in the whole draft, and he can control everything, demand the most to take every offer and grab the best offer, play teams against each other, and get a haul. Then I got an Arlington Park Raceway to sell you. So, but
I was gonna say I don't know if you actually heard my conspiracy theories on what I believe the Colts are gonna do today. I believe the Colts are gonna throw this game pretty much. I believe they'll put a team out there, but they're not gonna tell this team to beat the Texans because you lose, or you win, you give the Texans the number one pick. They go draft Bryce Young. What do you know? They have their number quarterback for 10 years.
And make them pay for it.
Right, the Colts have to deal with this motherfucker two times a year. No, we come out there. KB. We come out there. We give Sam Ehlinger the starting chance over Matt Ryan, who would give you the best chance to win.
Yep.
But you let the Bears get the number 1 pick. The Bears aren't going to draft Bryce Young.
Nope.
We can call Chicago and offer them what they want. So that's my thinking. Like I said, if I'm thinking this, somebody in the Colts organization has at least pondered this shit.
Yeah.
So
why would you allow the Texans to have a guy who's going to be playing against you twice a year without making them expend extra draft picks? It's great, KB. I think you're onto something.
And the Colts have right now the 4th overall pick and the 36th overall pick. Plus, you might be able to get a first next year. Who knows? Maybe they'll throw a DeForest Buckner in for good measure.
I was going to say, it's always a thought.
Then you got your 3 technique, and you're not as worried about dropping down. You traded away the 32nd or 33rd overall pick, but you got the 36th one now. I mean, Claypool is more of a project for next year. We'll see how he does next year. He's already talked this offseason. He's going to work with Fields. He's going to be one of those guys out there with him and Kmet, and Mooney will probably, if he's healthy, he'll probably be out there with him. We
got EQ St. Brown re-signed. He's like a fourth or fifth wide receiver, which that's depth. Another guy the Bears will probably get a good look at today is Dante Pettis. Who does a lot of things. Whether it's blocking or returning kicks. He seems to understand the offense and knows how to get open. He's not a superstar, but he's a guy that could fill that number 4 wide receiver slot, maybe number 3.
Amen.
But you have to go into this. You got to get somebody. I heard you guys talking about Keyshawn Butte, who I love. Man, that dude is a technician. But yeah, it's you got to come out of this draft with 1 or 2 wide receivers because there's no option. There's no options out there unless we trade something. We may trade the top pick and get a player back in return along with draft picks. Who knows?
After seeing polls last year, he went into the draft with 5 draft picks and came out with 11 players. I don't think he's scared to move around.
At all.
To me, that was overkill, man. Like I've said before, I thought he was going to trade right out of the draft. Man, we never have 0 picks.
My man looked at this shit and said, I could flip all these picks and get double.
Yeah, exactly. For all of us trading around, we didn't get a lot, man. That's the thing that I know some of the guys were injured and stuff, but
really?
For all of us trading around, I didn't think we got a lot. We'll have to see next year because
we ended up with Braxton Jones, who's been okay. He hasn't been great, but I mean he's been a solid left tackle. And if we draft over him, maybe he's young enough to move to the right side and you fill that hole. I don't know. You end up with Elijah Hicks, who we didn't expect anything out of, but due to injury, he was forced to play. And I mean, he hasn't been great, but he's a good depth piece, and that's kind of what you're looking for late in the draft. You don't expect a Tom Brady in the 6th round, You kind of expect a backup something,
And I say this about our incumbent left tackle at the moment. He really needs an offseason to add strength to his game. I truly believe that if that kid got stronger, Braxton Jones would be a fucking force at tackle. I'm not going to say at left. I'm just going to say a force at tackle.
1 extra year in an NFL weight program, KB.
And it does a world of difference because you're playing with, I don't want to say children's strength compared to a grown man's strength, but that's what it's like.
Yeah.
So
he came from Southern Utah. They didn't have the best facilities to build up his strength. And Greg Gabriel's talked about Braxton Jones being in the mold of a Ronnie Stanley for Baltimore, who I mean, he's a lockdown left tackle,
It showed. He got bulled a few times, man, towards the end of the season. Teams figured out you could bull rush him, and knock him back. But he's got to get stronger. And, he mirrors great. He's got good feet. It's up to him how good he could be.
Exactly. The sky's the limit. The kid can be just an average tackle, or he can be something like a Trent Williams and just be a fucking mauler and amazing at his position. But like I said, it's up to him.
Regarding Braxton Jones, would you guys want the Bears to bring like a high up free agent left tackle. You know,
I
somebody
still
who's
would
done
love
it.
a tackle. I still would love a tackle. If there was a
Yeah,
way, I'm not gonna bring up the Orlando Brown shit because apparently Chiefs fans like he sucked all fucking year and just decided to be good halfway through the season. But let's say you get somebody who's, you know what I'm saying, in that mold, and I'm just saying in general. If, like my boy AC said, if Braxton Jones is still young and you can move him to right tackle, you solve two positions. And like I said, I feel that with the strength addition that he's going to get in the offseason, Braxton Jones is going to be fine. He has the technique, like Tu said. It's just you have to add the strength to that. Once he adds the strength to it, I believe the kid's going to be fucking amazing. And that might either be him staying at the left or them saying, hey, you know what? We drafted, let's say, Peter Skoronski, or the tackle out of Tennessee who I believe is really fucking good.
Darnell Wright.
Yeah, and we decided to flip-flop sides. I don't care. Braxton Jones, to me, is going to be a linchpin as long as he adds strength.
Yeah. Well, Darnell Wright to me is more of a right tackle. But, yeah, you do need help all along the O-line. We don't know what the plan is with Lucas Patrick, but I've been watching centers. I know my man KB talked about John Michael Schmitz out of Minnesota. I don't know how high his draft stock will climb. We had a guy, Tooch, the Iowa kid, Linderbaum.
Tyler Linderbaum.
Ended up going in the first round. So
we'll see, hell yeah. I forgot.
We'll see what John Michael Schmitz does if he tests well and does all that. But Michigan's got a lot of good O-line.
Michigan, number 1 ranked offensive line in the NCAA preseason. Notre Dame got a good offensive line too.
So Patterson from Notre Dame is a good inside. He plays center. I can't say the kid's name out of Michigan. It starts with an O. And I feel bad because that's
I've read it, but I can't say it either.
I was gonna say him. Nick said then the kid from Georgia. It's still some good inside linemen that could possibly play center that's coming out of this draft, not named Schmitz. Yeah. So it's a good year to need a center.
If the Bears,
Ohio State center's coming out, I'm just trying to spitball.
I was going to mention, Paris Johnson, pretty good tackle on Ohio State. Got to look at around 10 or 12 in the first round. But yeah, I mean, they're going to have, whether they have 1 or 2, I guarantee you the 99% chance that they're trading out of that slot.
Yeah.
Too, if they stay up there, if let's say they get 2 and they stay, or 1 or 2, and they take Jalen Carter, who isn't a bad player. I know he's got the knock of taking plays off, but if you watch the game last Saturday or 2 Saturdays ago, dude was double and triple team. He still was getting in the backfield, But I'm fine with that. For the Bears,
I'm fine with either him or Will Anderson, man. I would love to have either one, but like I said, I also understand the fact of you need an entire team.
Yeah, that's but that, and as long as I've been a Bear fan, it's like it seems like that's always the case every offseason is the number of holes to fill exceeds what we draft picks we have. It's just I know we'll have a lot of spending money to do things. But in the draft, they've got to come away with 2 picks in the first round, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big time.
So I'm Googling NFL teams with multiple first-round picks.
Eagles.
Eagles.
Seahawks.
Detroit.
Seahawks was definitely
Detroit.
one of those.
Yeah. But, I mean, even like the situation you put out, KB, about the Colts, their second-round pick is pretty high as well, and you could maybe get a player or 2 out of them. And the Lions traded with the Vikings last year, so they're not scared to trade within the division either.
Right. I remember I was telling this to my dude last night when I was explaining my conspiracy theory to him. I said if there was a way that the Bears got out of that first pick and the Colts, they trade up with us, of course. They say, we'll give you a first this year. We'll give you our second, probably a 4th and DeForest Buckner. I said, Chicago, I'm taking that trade.
Hell yeah.
every day of the fucking week.
Eberflus would be happy to have
Exactly. I said it gives you the 3 tech that you need. We only drop back 3 spots, so we can realistically get out of there with a Miles Murphy. Or, you know what I'm saying, if you like Tyree Wilson over Miles Murphy, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can still get a premier pass rusher, have your 3 tech, you know. Yep. So I was like, yeah, that Colts pick is still a glorified first round pick to me. That's like 2 first number ones to me.
Right. And you might even trade back again. I mean, you have the Falcons might want to move up to get somebody. You'll have, I mean, if you're sitting at 4.
Oh, don't let you sit at 4 and CJ Stroud be on the board still. don't let you sit on.
Yeah, or Will Levis. Yeah, someone else trade up for Levis too.
Hey, you want to do what now? Oh, you want to trade? We just traded, but you want to trade with us? Yeah, we'll do that for you.
Yeah,
add more picks. We'll end up with 18 picks in this damn draft.
Well, we don't need it.
Will Anderson doesn't fit the Bears system.
We do need it.
Even if you're bringing him in on passing downs, I'm okay with that too.
Listen, I don't care. He's a good player. Will Anderson's all of 6'4", 260 pounds, some shit like that. What's wrong with that? Khalil Mack is around that size.
Yeah,
and Khalil Mack played better in a 4-3.
Mm-hmm.
So I listen. I don't care. Will Anderson's a hell of a pass rusher. Fuck it.
Yeah, so even if he's coming in on obvious passing downs, you know, it's
according to Wikipedia.
How big is he?
6'4", 243, according to Wikipedia.
Hold on. Like I said, interesting fact. Let's Google Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack.
Max like 250 at most.
Yeah, something like that. 6'3", 260. They got him at 269. Wait,
for Mack?
Yeah. Listen, I'm okay with putting Will Anderson in that fucking D.
I don't know about. I mean,
third and long. Go get the quarterback, dog.
I mean, it might be all right, but like the edge rusher position in this draft, it's not as top heavy as it usually is. I think. Like you've got, there's a Will Anderson, but Tyree Wilson looks really good out of Texas Tech. Yep. The kid out of Notre Dame, Foskey, he's getting a lot of buzz right now. So
Jared Verse, I stand.
He went back to college.
He's going back.
Announced yesterday.
You son of a bitch.
Going back to Florida State.
Oh. Man, there was a dude playing yesterday in the Raiders game that I liked out of Central Michigan. I think the Raiders got him in like the 7th round.
Max Crosby.
I wanted the Bears to draft him at the end of the draft when he came out, and I was like, this dude could rush the passer, man. He never gives up, man. He's a good player, man. You could have had him towards the end of the draft that year.
Well, a guy that I've been grabbing late in mock drafts, I think like 5th round or so, is Mike Morris out of Michigan. What's he play like, KB?
He's a decent player, man. I'm not gonna say he's a world beater, but he's definitely man. I'll say that defense as a whole. I mean, through the whole season, it was just like, damn, these dudes are fucking go-getters, bro. Yeah. I was gonna say another name to look at if you don't get the 3-tech that you want is Mizey Smith. Dude's an athletic fucking freak.
Yeah.
So I would honestly take the defense from the entire front 7 of the Michigan defense right now. I would take the entire offensive line from Michigan
what are you doing with my boy Sanborn if you're taking their whole front 7? I got to say,
keep Sanborn on the play. Keep it Sanborn. The linebackers can back him up. That kid was a hell of a find, bro. I've always stood on this hill, bro. Sometimes if you can't find the big name who's making the splash plays, go after production. To have the production he had coming out of the Big Ten, the kid was he was a tackling machine.
Yeah,
I can care less what folks say about he doesn't run a fast 4.7. That motherfucker chased down Jalen Hurts. He did not. He just took a good angle. He chased down Jalen Hurts. What? No, was it Jalen? It was a fast quarterback. I just know that. But he chased the motherfucker down.
He's a player, man. Like I said, I got his jersey on the way, so I definitely got a lot of love for Sanborn, the jackhammer.
I got a lot of love for that kid, bro. Like I said, sometimes you go after production. I know one of the times it didn't work was with Kasheem Green when we drafted him. He had a lot of production. I get it. He didn't really turn out, but I would rather take production over a name. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're picking late in the draft, I'm not just gonna pick a dude because he has a name.
Yeah.
There you go, Tyreek Hill. The fact he chased down Tyreek Hill. Jack Sanborn is
They
what
might want to check their stopwatch on his 40. Then.
Hey, I say this: Jack Sanborn is how big? I'm getting into these sizes now.
He's not small.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's not a small kid.
I think he's 6'5" something.
Yeah.
Oh, 6'2". I'm pretty sure 234. This is 6'2", 234-pound white boy that chased down one of the fastest players in the fucking league. And then you tell me he didn't get drafted because he wasn't fast. Okay. You're right. Oh my God.
Yeah,
man.
With no good free agent wide receivers, the Bears have to come away with a stud out of this one. You know, whether it's Boutte or someone like
I know it's not a stud, but
yeah.
the guy that we just saw last week in Detroit, DJ Chark, he's going to be a free agent. He's
he's like the best one,
though. But
yeah.
I was gonna say, Touche, I don't know if you had heard, you know what I'm saying, the situation that Boutte was in.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I spoke and I was just like, you know, that's pretty much probably gonna make his draft stock slide. So I'm not gonna lie. If I'm staring Keyshawn Boutte down in the 4th round, bro, I would probably draft.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Regardless of the situation.
Hell yeah.
As long as it didn't come out that the you know,
and Ryan Poles comes from Kansas City, who is the team that is all about giving second chances. I mean, drafted Tyreek Hill. They had Kareem Hunt. You know, they have guys with questionable past, and so
you know what I'm saying, I get it. You know what I'm saying, you're young. You know what I'm saying, you're gonna chase it if it goes to you, as long as it doesn't come out that, you know what I'm saying, that this was any kind of forced situation. You know what I'm saying, or it was against that girl's will. I get making stupid decisions, so that I can live with the fact of drafting somebody because they made a bad choice, instead of saying that he did something that is considered a crime.
Yeah,
because if it's the crime, then the kid's scum of the earth. He doesn't deserve to be in the league. But
yeah, you got to let the justice system play itself out too. I mean, look at what happened with Kobe. He was a rapist and all this, they said, and then he, you know, I mean, some women just do that. They see the chains of money, and they're not always the best either. J-Rock says we need a slot receiver, not a bunch of outside receivers. Exactly.
You have Mooney.
Exactly.
Mooney
I disagree with that. I think Mooney in the slot is a perfect fit. Already knows the offense.
Exactly.
Has a connection with Fields.
He would more than likely make a huge jump if he was exclusively a slot, because of his relationship with Fields. If I can trust you to be where I need you to be, Darnell Mooney would probably.
He's so good on the outside though too.
He is. He definitely is. But if you're telling me, and this is another thing, if you drafted Boutte, he can play from the slot as well.
Yeah.
So you get a bunch of people that are interchangeable, man. I believe that Darnell Mooney would thrive in the slot.
Yeah,
He's still a wide receiver on the outside, but he would thrive in the slot.
When I think about, you know, really good slot receivers, I saw one last night, Hunter Renfrow. That dude's like almost uncoverable out of the slot, man. He just, his change of direction, really incredible. Would love to have a guy like that. And then the other guy is Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's amazing.
Exactly.
Out of two, you know, those two guys are probably the two best in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, I think they grabbed Amon-Ra in like the 5th or 6th round. They grabbed him late, and so yeah, he's better than our St. Brown. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I mean, look, Mooney had the injury this year, didn't produce like we thought he would, but the offensive line did not give Fields enough time to really make any of the receivers hit their whatever yardage or incentives or whatever it was. And Fields is learning a voluminous playbook with the West Coast offense, and everyone's Fields, he's not a passer. He was a passer at Ohio State, man.
Oh,
yeah, he wasn't a runner.
Yeah, he wasn't. But one thing is like when Fields steps on the field, man, he's the fastest player on the field, man. He outruns everybody. It's just, you got to figure out how to make it work with Fields. I know he's going into his third year, and my fear is that the Bears would be like, well, Fields is in his third year already. Maybe we just grab one of these quarterbacks and take him from the first, see if somebody wants to trade. Yeah, that would be my fear. Trade for Fields, and stuff. Stop yourself, douche, right?
So no, this is funny because this is something that was presented to me when I was making my argument about the number one pick.
Yeah.
My guy told me, he said, Baltimore, let's say they chose not to re-sign Lamar because they just don't want to meet his demands.
Yeah.
And they were like, so Lamar, he wasn't saying we go after Lamar. He was just like, so let's say that the Ravens call you and they offer a shit ton for the first round pick because they want a guy. And then he was like, no, let me get even more interesting with you. What if they offered a shit ton for Justin Fields instead of the first pick? He said, would you take it?
Yeah.
I looked at it. Me as a Fields fan, of course I said,
not me, but yeah.
It's like,
I can see.
But he was just like that. He said, but that's not interesting to you. He said, they called you and offered you a haul of picks for Fields, and then you still kept the number one pick. He said, you wouldn't consider that, man? And I was like, maybe if you ask somebody else, bro. I said, my bias is too much into this. I said, I don't like anybody in this draft over Fields.
But if you trade away Fields, then you're right back in a position where you have to find your quarterback for the future. There's no way I'm trading Fields.
Right.
I think he was like you wouldn't take a Stroud or a Bryce Young with that pick and then have all the Baltimore's picks for him.
C.J. Stroud has looked damn good. He looked damn good against Georgia.
He definitely did.
But go back and watch Justin Fields in that offense, and you tell me which one of those guys are better.
Like I said, if you put Fields in this draft, he's hands down the best
number one overall.
So
Jets fans and 49ers fans are still pissed off that they traded up and didn't grab Fields. They're back in square one trying to find a quarterback.
I told him, I said, I saved that question for the show, man. I said I'm not gonna do it, but I said it'd be a good talking point. It's definitely something that you can look at and say that is kind of interesting, but no, I'm taking Fields all day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna stick with Fields. I mean, we ain't really talked about the game at all today, but it's about time to try and close this thing up. Now, usually we do a score prediction, bowl prediction, blah, blah, blah.
Bowl prediction.
Since we've been talking a lot of draft, we're talking a lot of free agent. I want you to tell me who you want as a first-round pick, who you want to go after in free agency, and do you think the Bears trade that pick, or do you think they stay where they're at? I'll start with you, KB, then I'll go to Chris and Tooch. And then
hold on. Say it again.
So instead of a score prediction, we're gonna do a draft pick that you want.
Oh, okay.
Why?
Okay.
Second one is free agency. We got to build a whole ass team. Who's a free agent that you've got your eyes on? And then the third one, do you think the Bears stay put, or do you think they trade their pick, regardless if it's one or two?
All right, we're there. So we'll go with the draft pick, of course. Let's say we get the pick, we trade back. Who? God, it's a boatload of names at that point. Sheesh. I'll say this, because I would say probably Tyree Wilson, because I would imagine in my head we trade back once, possibly twice, but we still stay in the top 10. So we get out of this with Tyree Wilson, and I believe every Bears fan should be still happy about that. So that answers my question. I believe we trade out of the pick.
Okay.
The two names I'll say right now that I'm really looking at in free agency I mean, they're not really huge names, but I say Hargrave is one from the Eagles. Just because I believe the fact that the Commanders could re-sign Payne, and I mean, why wouldn't they try? The second name I would say would be Yannick Ngakoue. To me, the dude's still young. I believe he's going to be 27 next year. For whatever reason, he's an underrated pass rusher. He always ends the year around 9 or 10 sacks. I will believe if you had to go into the season, you had a Yannick Ngakoue and a Tyree Wilson, and you know what I'm saying, somehow got the 3-tech enter name, your D line is looking 10 times fucking better.
Mm-hmm.
So 1A, I say Hargrave, 1B being Ngakoue, we trade down, and then Tyree Wilson.
Sounds good. Chris, do you have any information on any of those?
Absolutely none, mate. You know that I'm not a massive follower of college football, so this is like the hardest question I've had to answer all season. What you give me, AC? I mean, I'd probably say it by position which I want rather than a particular player, because I just don't follow college football enough, mate. I mean, my first sort of initially is that really we need to get a defensive tackle. We need to shore up that defensive line. And also, as well, I still think we should pick an offensive lineman quite high as well, because we all know that's, I'm one of these people, I like to build a team from inside out. I want to build it on the lines. And I think that's one of the reasons why Detroit's had a good season this year, is that that's been their mentality. And I also think the Philadelphia Eagles have been very similar to how they built their team as well over the last sort of year. So for me, it's more to do with linemen. Regarding free agency, I'm now quite up for Hopkins to come over from the Cardinals, just sort of like maybe a year contract, just to give Fields that guy. But yeah, I think wide receiver for me, really, in the free agency would be an ideal pick. Somebody who's been there, done it, somebody who scares the opposition secondary shit, and to give Fields that, that option and give him a bit more confidence that he knows he's got a guy what's, going to be free, you're going to be open. And like you say, it takes less pressure off Mooney and Claypool as well, because I don't think either of them are number one. So, yeah, sorry, guys, I ain't got really much in the specifics, but I'm terrible remembering names to start off with anyway. And also, my lack of knowledge of college football. So, they're the positions I think the Bears really need to target straight away.
It's all good, man. I knew I threw you a curveball. I kind of threw all y'all a curveball with this one, I knew we were getting close to time to shut this thing down, and I was like, well, we haven't really talked about the game. How do we just wrap it up by talking about the game? You know what I'm saying? So I figured this is and it's obviously a good question, because the chat's going nuts with talking about, where they would attack this offseason, which is, it's good conversation. Tooch, what about you, brother?
Well, I think the probability that Poles will trade is very high. Mr. Trade back, he's going to be, he's going to be wheeling and dealing, especially if he's got the number 1 overall pick, which I think will be a good chance. I don't see the Bears winning today. If they did, it would be that the Vikings kind of, rested everybody, whether after the first quarter or first half. But yeah, I think in the first or second rounds, you have to, attack the offensive and defensive lines and look seriously at wide receiver. A guy that, like we mentioned, in free agency, I would love to see Deron Payne or Draymond Jones at defensive tackle.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Draymond Jones making the Denver Broncos defense go. I mean, I would seriously take a look at Paris Johnson in the middle of the first round, man.
Yeah,
we need offensive line help in the later rounds. I'd probably draft, a center and a guard. That's just me. Get some maulers up front and good protect Fields. And wide receiver, man, I take a look at the USC kid. Man, that dude, he's quick off the line. I know he's small.
Addison.
But yeah, Jordan Addison. But man, he could have that kind of Tyreek Hill. He's got deep speed too. Yeah, that Tyreek Hill type effect that the Dolphins and Chiefs have had with Hill. Addison's a lot slighter than Tyreek Hill's like thick for a little guy.
Yeah, he's built like a running back.
Yeah, and then late rounds, you got to start thinking, linebackers, defensive backs. If
What about the guy
really
out of Iowa, Jack
Campbell? Yep. Yeah, I know. There's rumors of him going to the Bears and stuff, and making a nice linebacker group with Sanborn and company. But as far as today's game, I think it's going to be low scoring, maybe 16-3 Vikings. I don't see the Bears winning this for the sole reason that the Bears would screw themselves out of some draft positions if they win this game. And I don't think whether it's a management or coaching staff or both of them together that they would allow that to happen.
Yeah. Well, I kind of didn't let y'all hit your shout outs. If you guys want to go ahead and hit your shout outs, and then I'll try to close out the show. My wife's upstairs cooking bacon, so that's really all I can think about right now. I already texted her with the mouth watering emoji.
Yeah. Put them aside, baby. I'm on my way.
But two Chitcher shout outs, then you, Chris, then you, KB, and then I'll close this out.
I will, of course, want to shout out all the Barflies for the support. Always in the chat room and everything, and listening online and on demand. And then you guys for every Sunday being here. Are you guys going to continue like next week and stuff? And
we have a couple of I was going to get into it in the close, but we're setting up an interview with KB's cousin, Andrew Billings, the Las Vegas Raider, former Cleveland Brown, former Cincinnati Bengal, former Baylor Bear. So we're going to do that sometime this offseason whenever it works around his schedule. His schedule is more important.
Maybe like mine. A draft special.
Yeah. And we'll probably come back for a draft special. Probably the week of the draft. We'll do a free agency special like right before free agency starts, when we can see who's actually available and who's been re-signed and stuff like that. But yeah, we're going to take a little hiatus for a while until we figure out our off-season schedule. And Aldo's got me working on some stuff this off-season too. I'll get into it whenever I close the show out though.
Yeah, shout out to you guys and all the barroom personalities, and Aldo especially for all the hard work. And then that's it. Well, I like to can I shout out my wife too?
Oh, go ahead.
Absolutely.
My wife. First of all, like we spent a month in the Philippines and then came back, and my wife's mom passed away. Oh, so so she went right back 2 weeks later, New Year's Day. My wife's mom passed away, so I'm home with the kids for a couple weeks, and man, all the things that my wife does, I'm like, God damn. She usually takes care of this. What the hell do I was like, I got to do this too. Oh my God. So, man, I'm basically like, honey, never leave again. But yeah, I got to shout out to my wife, who very supportive of everything that I do in the barroom and all that. Still wears a barroom t-shirt all the time. So
nice.
Turn up.
All right, go ahead, Chris. Hit your shout outs, brother.
Awesome.
Oh.
Wow. Well, I just can't believe this season's gone so quick, man. It's just been a blast. Every week it's just been such a blast to do this show and continuing to get to know you guys more and get better. You've got on from abroad. You give me a chance to do this, and everybody in the chat was stuck with us all season. It's been a tough season, so everybody's had every right not to tune in and see what we say. And I just want to thank you, Aldo, for letting us be on the network in the first place, and all the things it does. Without Aldo, there wouldn't be a network at all. But yeah, the main thing is just it's just you boys, man. Like every Sunday. I get up with a smile on my face because I'm usually quite a miserable bastard, and I always have a smile on my face Sunday because I know I'm going to be talking to you boys, talking about one of my passions, the Chicago Bears. So that's my shouts, man. It's just I'm looking forward to the off-season shows, and especially having a chance to talk to KB's cousin. That's going to be absolutely amazing to talk to an NFL player. So yeah, it's just it's sort of bittersweet at the end of the season, but I wish the Bears would have been going into this year. But yeah, just thank you for you guys for letting me come on the show, and I love you guys. I class you all as my friends, and this year I got a chance to obviously speak to Tooch more, and I've been on shows with Aldo and also with Dan on the Bears Country podcast. I've been on shows with him, and he's an absolute top guy. So yeah, I'm just very appreciative, man, of that. Let me come on here, and I say I class you all as very good friends, and it's just a shame to see. But I love you all, and it's just been an absolute blast this last 3 or 4 months doing this show as usual.
That's awesome, Chris, man. You definitely killed it, man, and you're always welcome. I'm not kicking you out of the bar room anytime soon. You've got the keys to the back door, my guy, and definitely I've enjoyed having you on this whole year, and
awesome. Thank you.
Definitely going to continue for the future. When I let you get a word in edgewise.
Definitely.
All right, go ahead, KB. Hit shout outs.
I've got used to it now, AC.
It's all bad. I want let's go with first and foremost. Shout out to Aldo. I was watching the show when he was saying, I think it's about time that I take the step back. It's well deserved, man. You put in so much of your time, your money, your life, to be honest, into building this brand, this network, bringing together people that are as close as a stoplight to people who have large bodies of water in between us. You've been a hell of a mentor, an uncle, a grandfather, whatever, however you want to put yourself in the bar room, man. You've been a hell of a figure to follow, man. So it's all love this way. I know every time I'm with them, man, it's always a good time. And I appreciate everything that you've done and given us this platform to continue to do what we're doing. So to me, it's everything that you're doing is is needed, bro. And we appreciate everything that you've done. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. I don't care if we're in the chat with 10 people or over 100 people, man. Y'all are fucking great. I don't care if you come in here talking about the Bears being trash or you're a lifelong fan. I appreciate the hell out of this shit. I'm 32 years old, and there's people who've been Bears fans for just as long, and you get on here to listen to me talk. Yeah, I find that shit crazy to me, but we appreciate y'all. We appreciate the human element of the game. We're having what we seen with Hamlin just happened recently. We appreciate all of y'all. We appreciate the people that you are. We appreciate the fans that you are. We appreciate the humans that you are. Shout out to all you boys on here. Like I said, me and AC, we came into this show together at the same time, both with the same starry-eyed look in our eyes, like, and you fast forward a couple years, certain people had to take a step back or step away, and we're still here doing it, man. We get to meet people like Chris, and then Tooch always being the stand-up guy that he is. So I love you boys, man. I wouldn't want to do this with anybody else on Sundays, man. I love you boys to death. And like I said, man, just shout out to everybody. Love all y'all. So go ahead, AC, man, take this shit home, bro.
All right. First and foremost, the draft pick that I like. I've really liked that Tyree Wilson that KB was talking about. I've started watching him, and I like his burst off the line, and he does a lot of good things. And I definitely think we trade back. I think Poles is definitely going to trade, whether we're first or second. So as much as I like Jalen Carter and Will Anderson, I don't think we're going to be within striking distance after the trade down. I mean, maybe we are, maybe we're not. I don't know. But if we're not, I like Tyree Wilson a lot, and I've started to like Miles Murphy. I think Miles Murphy actually fits our defense a little better than Will Anderson does. Yeah. So that's the name to watch out for. And free agency, Deron Payne's at the top of my list. Now, if he gets re-signed, then we'll have to look elsewhere. But Deron Payne's he's good age, and he does everything we need for a 3 technique. So that's the guy I've got my eyes on there. Obviously, wide receiver is a position I'll look at, but I'm thinking it's more like a third or fourth guy. I don't think they're going to spend big money to bring in a DJ Chark, who's probably going to look for a big contract because, I mean, he took a 1-year deal in Detroit and bet on himself so he could hit this year's free agency.
Got injured too, I think, right?
Right.
Yeah, he did.
He was hurt for a while.
He is kind of injury prone, but he's the best one out there, though. I agree, AC.
Yeah. And then, I mean, like you guys talked about, building through the trenches. If you look at all the best teams in the NFL, they've done that. You know, they Bills, the Eagles, the Detroit Lions, who are red hot. The only team I could think of that can beat that out is maybe the Chiefs, who don't have a great O line, or the Bengals, who went to the they got Joe Burrow. They went to the Super Bowl really without one. Super chat, good vibes for number one, and let's get supercharged for 2023. Double trade back.
He just signed up for Super Chat. That's awesome. Nice.
Hey, that's awesome.
Hey.
I didn't even know we had that.
We can do this shit.
I did.
Yeah.
Aldo must have set it up. Yeah.
So I mean, that leads right into our shout outs, man.
Yeah.
Definitely shout out to the Godfather, and thank you, Matt, for your super chat here.
Hell yeah.
We appreciate it. Tell your friends and family about, if they're Bears fans or even if they're not. I mean, look, we didn't talk about the game today, but usually we do talk about the game, I promise you. But we definitely appreciate that super chat. That's gonna help. That's going to help us keep the lights on here in the bar room, and we appreciate that.
Right. It's a first, baby.
Damn, I'm all flabbergasted here. I forgot where I was going.
Yeah.
Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to you guys for coming on. KB, you're like a brother to me. You know this, man. Chris, you came in just like us, man. You were a fan. We were like, yeah, let's bring him on and see how he does. And, man, you fit right in, even though we're so far apart. It's like we're so close together. My man Tooch coming in here, through
sick
sickness.
as a dog.
Yeah, through sickness and fighting through. I appreciate you coming through, man. I know we didn't talk a lot about betting or any of that stuff. We had other things we're all focused on the off season.
Yeah. Couple games I like, as I mentioned, the Saints, and then like the Houston Cougars today, -9.5 at Cincinnati. Looks like a good bet. Hard to bet against Rutgers right now too. I know they're playing my Hawkeyes. Line looks a little fishy, but still like the Rutgers at the rack.
Yeah.
But yeah, whenever I see, sometimes there's like, I'm like, I couldn't miss the last show if this was the last show, so I took some Dayquil, get myself in there. But it's sometimes I just see AC and Chris, or AC and KB. I'm like, I'll jump in here and get some discussion points whenever I can. I love a good tailgate.
Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, we're all focusing on the off season, and you can catch me after the game, because Aldo and Dan are at the game, so I will be hosting Bear Football post-game show.
Wow!
Myself and Danny Shimon. We'll probably talk a lot of draft there too, because I don't know how much of this game we're going to want to talk about. You'll have the Draft on Tap boys coming back this offseason to talk about, Jalen Carter, Will Anderson, Tyree, all these guys that we've talked about all game. And I know, Chris, you're going to be tuning in, so you can give us little updates whenever we do our draft special. You'll know what you're talking about a little bit.
I'll be doing my homework, mate. No problem.
Yeah. Get you a little pad and paper and write. Take your notes. But yeah, that's definitely
right. I need to.
So that'll be coming back this off season, and we'll get on that. And I'm taking a larger role at the bar room this offseason. Myself and KB are going to coordinate to make a new open for our show. So that'll be something that we push out probably the first week of next year's show. We'll keep this open for now, but we're gonna switch it up and give it a little bit of ACKB flavor on that. So
sir,
we'll fix that. Fix that open, and I'm learning how to do a bunch of stuff on this computer. so I can try and be as good as Tooch at making drops and videos and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
I'll load some in there for you.
Hey, I appreciate it, man.
All right.
But yeah, we're gonna get out of here. We just want to leave but let me find the outro before I hit it all.
Right
See,
here,
I'm
with a
learning.
big bear down, and we all staring at
He
each other.
says, getting better.
Yeah. We'll just leave everybody with a big old bear down.
Bear down.
Bear down, baby.
Bear down.